Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today's video is going to be another top 5 video. But of course this isn't going to be a normal top 5 video. I'm preferring doing these kind of more different top 5 videos that have a little bit, more interesting things, I guess you could say, in them, instead of just, top 5 best tanks or whatever. Everybody kind of already knows that stuff. So I feel like this type of top 5 is a little bit more interesting. Today's top 5 is going to be top 5 strongest turrets in World of Tanks Blitz. Now, I'm only going to be doing tier 10 in this because, first of all, tier 10s have the strongest turret. That's kind of, common sense. And it just makes sense just to do tier 10 for this one. So, definitely are probably going to be some ones in here that you guys, won't agree with. I don't know, maybe there aren't, but I'm highly expecting that there are quite a few in here that you wouldn't agree with. So if you have any other, ideas of what this top 5 should be like, if you want to move around a couple of the tanks or whatever, let me know down in the comment below what you would, pit as the top 5 strongest turrets at tier 10. But for me, this is going to be my list, and the number 5 is going to be the VK90. Now, this tank's turret is very strong. I mean, this thing has a hatch, it has cheeks, but they're not normal hatch and cheeks. The cheeks on this are extremely well armored, and the only spot you can pin is a crazy small little spot on it. And it really gives it one of the strongest turrets in the game, even though it really doesn't look like it should. Same with the turret. The hatch, sorry. It looks like the hatch should have, it should be easy to pin. It's not. It's so hard to penetrate the hatch on this. So I just thought this definitely deserved a, a number 5 spot on this, because this tank actually has a very strong turret. Moving on to number 4. Alright, so what I put at number 4 here is going to be the FV215B. Now, this also has a very tricky and interesting turret. It's not like most other turrets. The turret on this, well, I'm saying for the hatch. The turret on this is extremely strong. The cheeks of this turret are pretty much impenetrable. It's a pretty small turret, so there's not really anywhere too easy on here to penetrate. And of course, the only place on here you really looks like you can penetrate is the hatch. Except you really can't pin the hatch. It's kind of like an E3 hatch. It is very, very tricky to penetrate, and it almost never pins. I've been pinned maybe once or twice in the turret in this tank. I mean, it is actually an amazing turret, and I don't think people talk about the turret on this tank enough, because it actually is insane. So I would definitely say this tank has a very strong turret. I think it definitely deserves a number 4 spot on here for how strong this turret is. Like I said, a lot of people don't talk about the turret on this tank, but I think it really is a very strong turret that people should realize it's so strong, use it to their advantage, because it definitely is a very strong turret. Alright, so we are now moving on to number 3. Alright, so for number 3, we're gonna have the IS-7. Now, the IS-7 has a very strong turret on this tank. There's only 2 weaknesses on this turret. It really doesn't have a hatch. You really can't pin the top of the turret. It's extremely tricky, and you get very lucky if you do pin the hatch of this turret, which, like I said, it really doesn't have a hatch. The only real weak spot on this tank is the turret cheeks. If you have a very high, pin gun, you can only do this, of course, in tier 10s, usually with Pramo, unless you're in a TD like a Horai, which still I usually switch to Pramo to even pin the turret cheeks of an IS-7. Because they are still very, very strong in this tank, and it's really only a select few tanks that can penetrate the turret on this. So I definitely say this tank has an extremely strong turret, one of the strongest in the game, and so definitely deserves a spot at number 3 on this list. Alright, moving on to number 2. Alright, so for number 2 on the list, we're going to have the brother of the IS-7, the IS-4. Now, this is basically an IS-7 turret, but even stronger. This is even trickier to pin. It's not quite as simple as an IS-7's turret to pin. Of course, the only place you can pin the turret of the IS-4 is on the cheeks, and it's even trickier to penetrate than an IS-7's cheeks. It has very troll area where you can penetrate. It's very small also, and if you wiggle the turret back and forth just a tiny bit on the IS-4, it is pretty much impossible to penetrate those turret cheeks. So this thing has one of the strongest turrets at tier 10, and I definitely think it is the second strongest turret at tier 10. I'm sure quite a few people agree with me on this. The turret on the IS-4 is absolutely amazing. It is one of the best things about the tank, is that the turret is just completely impenetrable. in a lot of games, I'll bounce HE from 183s and stuff off the turret because it's just such a strong turret. So now, without further ado, we come to the #1 strongest turret in the game. Well, I'm sure most of you saw this coming, and of course, it's gotta be the Kranvagn. This thing has, without a doubt, the strongest turret at tier 10. I mean, you can't penetrate the turret. It's pretty much impossible. The only small, tiny, very lucky spot you can penetrate is underneath the gun mantlet, or the hatch, of course. That actually pinned, not my hatch, that pinned my, my actual, hole, if I can remember it, hole of the tank right there. I mean, the hatches on this tank are just, they're pretty much impossible to hit. The only way you can hit them is if you are angling your turret down on the, and a tank is aiming from above you. That is pretty much the only way you can hit the turret, and pin it on this tank. The only other, super lucky spot, like I said, is underneath the gun mantlet. You can kind of pin the bottom side of the gun mantlet at very lucky, and it's extremely unreliable, and that is only if the turret is, facing up, if the gun is facing up. Otherwise, you cannot penetrate this turret at all. It is an absolutely amazing turret, an amazing tank as well. This is one of my favorite tier 10s for that very reason of having such a strong turret. It's just an amazing tank. And there's, like I said, that was a lucky shot. I'm not sure how that pinned. I really am not sure how that pinned. I was a little bit flabbergasted at how that pinned. I was like, what? So, yeah, I would definitely say that the Kranvagn has the strongest turret at tier 10. Maybe the IS-4. IS-4 is definitely the closest. The IS-4, of course, like I said, has an extremely strong turret as well. But I say it's the Kranvagn personally. So I hope you guys enjoy this top 5 video. Like I said, these are a little bit of different top 5 videos. Tell me in the comments below if you want to keep me to keep doing this type of top 5 videos where, it's not just kind of your standard top 5, like top 5 best tanks or something like that. It's more kind of, special, interesting things. Maybe I can do a top 5, I don't know, something next, So like I said, yeah, let me know down below in the comments if you would like that. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.